Jack and the Beanstalk, specially adapted for young adventurers. Good evening, friend. Tonight's campfire tale takes place a long time ago, when magic was much more common and giants still ruled the world above the clouds. In a quiet village nestled between rolling green hills and massive tree-filled forests, there lived a humble little boy named Jack and his mother. They were kind-hearted, but very poor. Their small cottage had a leaky roof, the cupboard was often empty, and their only possession of real value was their gentle old cow named Daisy. Daisy gave them fresh milk every morning, which they sold in the village for a few coins. It was Jack's job to milk the cow and carry the bucket down to the village. But one morning, when Jack went out to milk Daisy, he found that she had no milk left to give. And that is where our story begins. Jack's mother sighed and looked out of the window. "We have no food left and no money," she said sadly. "Jack, take Daisy to the market. Sell her for the best price you can. We'll need the money to survive." Jack nodded, though he felt a lump in his throat. He loved Daisy. She'd been his friend since he was little, but he didn't want his mother to worry anymore. So he set off down the road, leading Daisy by her worn rope. As Jack walked through the countryside, he passed a crooked old tree where a strange man stood leaning on a walking stick carved with stars and moons. The man had twinkling eyes and a long silver beard. "That's a fine cow you got there," said the old man. "Where are you taking her?" "To the market," Jack replied. "We really need the money." The man smiled. "What if I offered you something better than money?" Jack raised an eyebrow. "Better?" The man pulled a small pouch from his cloak and held out 5 shimmering beans. They glowed as if touched by moonlight. "These are magic beans," the man whispered. "Plant them tonight, and by morning something wonderful will have grown." Jack hesitated. Magic sounded exciting, and he didn't want Daisy to end up in someone's stew pot. So after a moment, he traded the cow for the beans and walked home, eager to show his mother. But when Jack told her what he had done, she was furious. "Beans?" she shouted. "You traded our cow for a handful of beans!" Jack tried to explain, but his mother was too upset. She threw the beans out of the window and sent Jack to bed. "There's no such thing as a magic bean," she said, as she closed the door behind him. That night, Jack stared out at the moon, feeling ashamed. Maybe he had made a terrible mistake. As he drifted off to sleep, he dreamed of empty plates and sad faces. "What have I done?" he thought sadly. But when he awoke the next morning, something amazing had happened. As Jack stretched and wiped the sleep out of his eyes, he noticed that there was a massive shadow where sunlight should be. Outside the window was a massive beanstalk, thick and green, twisting and curling all the way into the clouds. It shimmered in the sunlight, leaves the size of blankets fluttering gently in the breeze. "It's real," Jack gasped. Without hesitating for even a moment, he ran outside and grabbed the stalk. Up he climbed, past the rooftops, past the treetops, past the clouds. Birds flew by, surprised to see a boy climbing into the sky. Jack looked out over the valley. This was amazing. At the top, Jack found a strange land above the clouds. The sky was brighter, and everything around him was enormous. Giant flowers, giant butterflies, even giant footprints in the ground. And in the distance stood a huge castle with tall, golden towers. Curious and brave, though also a little afraid, Jack crept up to it. He squeezed through a crack in the giant wooden door and found himself in a kitchen the size of a football field. Enormous dishes and spoons lay on the table, and the smell of roast meat filled the air. Suddenly, boom, 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 the floor shook. Jack dove behind the bristles of a broom just as a massive man, a giant, stomped into the room. His boots were like barrels, and his voice made the walls tremble.
Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread.
Jack's heart pounded. Just then, a kind-looking giantess, the giant's wife, Jack supposed, entered with a tray of food. "You always say that," she scolded him. "Sit down and eat." The giant gobbled down a feast, chickens, pies, barrels of milk, then pulled out a little golden hen and said, "Lay." To Jack's amazement, the hen laid a golden egg. The giant tossed the egg into a pile of gold and flopped down in an enormous chair. He kicked off his boots and lay his head back against a pillow the size of Jack's house. Soon, the giant was asleep, his snoring shaking the walls, each breath out like the gust of a hurricane. Jack tiptoed over to the tall table and climbed to the top. As he slowly made his way toward the golden hen, who lay sleeping just beside the giant's plate, the giant's wife walked into the room, humming a song louder than a church bell. She cleared the remains of the giant's dinner and turned toward the counter. Seizing his chance, Jack snatched the golden hen, slid down the table leg, and dashed out the door. Climbing down the beanstalk faster than a firefighter, he landed beside the little cottage with a thump. "Mother, look!" he cried. A hen that lays golden eggs!" The mother was stunned, but joyful. And from that day on, they sold golden eggs at the market and had more than enough money to fix their home, buy food, and help their neighbors. But Jack's curiosity continued to grow. What else might be up there, he wondered. He often spent his evenings looking up into the sky where the beanstalk disappeared into the clouds, dreaming of riches and rare treasures. So one clear morning, before his mother woke up, Jack climbed the beanstalk again. But something was different about the giant's world this time. The garden gate that led up to the castle was shut, a massive chain hanging from the lock. As Jack climbed under the iron bars, he heard something sniffing loudly. Turning to face the noise, he saw a massive black, shaggy dog with teeth as long as boat paddles and eyes as wide as shields. Scurrying down the path, Jack slid under the door just as the dog started sniffing around the bottom of the gate. Safely inside the castle, Jack breathed a sigh of relief. He hid and watched for the giant to come home. It wasn't long until he heard a familiar "Fee, fi, fo, fum" roar again.
Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread.
The giant was very angry as he sat down at the table. His wife quickly bustled around the kitchen, dishes clanging as she dipped bowls of stew and cut slices of bread. "Still no luck finding your hen, my dear," she said as the giant grunted.
I don't want to talk about it,
he rumbled as he continued to mutter under his breath
about thieving neighbors and betrayal.
His wife seemed altogether unbothered by his foul mood and continued her work while singing a happy song. After another enormous feast, the giant took out a beautiful golden harp. It had a carved face and delicate strings, and placing it on the table, he walked toward his chair.
Play,
he said in a harsh voice. The harp began to play music so soft and sweet it made Jack's eyes water. As the music continued to play, the giant stopped muttering and slowly closed his eyes. Once the giant fell asleep, Jack crept forward, but as soon as he touched the harp, "Who are you? Where are you taking me? Does the master know you are taking me?" the harp cried out. The giant woke with a roar.
Thief!
Jack ran, harp tucked beneath his arm, never daring to look back. The castle shook as the giant gave chase, knocking over furniture and roaring with every step. Jack squeezed under the door and immediately saw the colossal dog. Rushing between legs as large as tree trunks, Jack dodged as the dog snapped its jaws. Just behind, the door hinges creaked violently as the giant swung the door open. Before he squeezed under the gate, he heard the giant trip over the startled dog and crash to the ground. He took advantage of the giant's momentary delay, racing to the beanstalk. Just as he began to climb down, he heard the chain fall from the gate and felt the ground tremble as the giant's heavy footsteps pounded. "Come back, thief!" he heard the giant bellow. Jack started to climb down, a task made harder by his heavy load. About halfway down, the clouds started to rumble. The beanstalk swayed. The giant was just behind him. "Mother! Get the axe!" he shouted. Looking down, he saw his mother's startled face staring back at him, dish towel in her wet hands. "The axe, Mother!" he yelled again. His mother didn't hesitate. She ran from the cottage and grabbed a sharp axe that lay propped by the woodpile. With all her strength, she began to chop, 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 chop. Jack hurriedly climbed down, reaching the ground just as the final blow hit. Chop! The beanstalk cracked and started to fall with a thunderous crash. Looking up, Jack saw the giant was only about halfway down the beanstalk. The giant tumbled down, disappearing with a loud boom, sounding in the distance as a massive dust cloud rose into the sky. Jack hugged his mother tightly. "What were you thinking, my dear Jack?" his mother whispered as she held him close. Jack didn't know what to say. His own curiosity had driven him into great danger. Jack and his mother kept the golden hen and the magic harp, doing good wherever they could, and staying as far away as they could from any rumor of giants. They were known by all to be philanthropic givers. Throughout the rest of his days, Jack never climbed another beanstalk, and he also learned that it was important to be satisfied with having enough. From then on, they lived a peaceful, happy life, kind, careful, and content. Remember, curiosity and courage can lead to great adventures, but it's important to be wise with your choices and think before you act. Bravery is wonderful, but being responsible, kind, and honest matters just as much. Good night, friends.